Welcome back to another episode of our private pilot training series. I'm Simon, and today we're diving into another one of the critical maneuvers in your pilot toolkit, short field takeoffs and landings. Mastering these skills will help you consolidate your understanding of the pitch and power relationship for both the front and back of the power curve and empower you to operate confidently from short runways, whether it is a small airfield or a mountain strip. Let's jump right in. Short field takeoffs and landings are all about maximizing your aircraft's performance and making precise and controlled maneuvers. These techniques are essential when dealing with limited runway length or obstacles that require precision and skill. Let's go over some of the key points of a short field takeoff and max performance climb first.
First, you want to have accurate weight and balance and performance calculations beforehand, such as your obstacle takeoff roll and takeoff distance. You also want to make sure to build in some buffer should something not go as planned. And you also want to brief the takeoff thoroughly. We want to use the checklist just as any other takeoff procedures to make sure that the aircraft is properly configured. Typically, this means using a specific flap setting to generate additional lift without causing excessive drag, often between 10 to 25 degrees depending on the model. So aim to use as much runway as possible to maximize your aircraft's performance. And begin the takeoff roll by holding the brakes and smoothly applying full throttle to achieve maximum engine power before releasing the brakes. This is crucial because it allows your engine to spool up fully, ensuring you get the best possible thrust from the start. As you advance the throttle, keep an eye on the engine and flight instruments to confirm that the engine is performing as it's supposed to be and you don't see any abnormalities such as high engine temperatures or low oil pressure. Once you confirmed full power and the engine is healthy, release the brakes to begin the takeoff roll and maintain your wind correction input on the yoke and slowly return to the neutral position as you reach rotation speed. Throughout the roll, monitor your airspeed indicator and make sure you are gaining airspeed as expected. And be prepared to abort if the acceleration isn't as expected or if any engine abnormalities arise. Rotate at your briefed airspeed and set a pitch attitude for the desired airspeed. Avoid drastic pitch changes to chase an airspeed. Be patient and give the plane time to react. And then maintain VX to ensure that you clear any obstacles in the path of your departure. VX allows you to gain altitude rapidly while covering minimal ground distance, which is essential for avoiding nearby obstacles. And once you are safely clear of any obstacles, transition to VY for optimal climb performance. VY enables you to gain altitude most efficiently over time, ensuring a steady and safe ascent. Now let's take a closer look at the skills breakdown in the private ACS. Skill 1 through 5 are identical to those in soft field takeoff. Feel free to refer back to that video. So skill 6, clear the area, taxi into takeoff position, and align the airplane on the runway centerline using the maximum available takeoff area. So ensure the area is free of obstruction or traffic, then taxi onto the runway. Use as much of it as possible for takeoff. Align yourself perfectly on the center line, which not only maximizes the runway length, but also helps in maintaining control during the roll. Skill 7, apply brakes while setting engine power to achieve maximum performance. So while holding the brakes, like we talked about, advance the throttle smoothly to full power. This will ensure that you're getting every ounce of thrust from the engine before you release the brakes and begin your roll, giving you a strong start on a short runway. And then you want to monitor the engine and flight instruments closely to confirm full power. Skill 8, confirm takeoff power prior to brake release and verify proper engine and flight instrument indications prior to rotation. Like we said, you will continuously monitor your engine performance to make sure that the engine is performing as expectedly. Skill 9, rotate and lift off at the recommended airspeed and accelerate to the recommended obstacle clearance airspeed, or VX, plus 10 or minus 5 knots. So rotate at the specified airspeed to ensure a smooth liftoff. Once airborne, focus on reaching our obstacle clearance speed, which gives you the best climb rate for clearing obstacles. Maintain this airspeed within a tight margin because precision here can make all the differences in a short field condition. Skill 10. Establish a pitch attitude to maintain the recommended obstacle clearance airspeed or VX plus 10 or minus 5 knots until the obstacle is cleared or until plane is 50 feet above the surface. Keep the aircraft steady and focus on holding this speed until you are at least 50 feet above ground level or safely past any obstacles. Skill 11. Establish a pitch attitude for VY and accelerate to VY plus 10 or minus 5 knots after clearing the obstacle or at least 50 feet AGL if simulating an obstacle. Once the obstacle is behind you, transition to VY, which is your best rate of climb. This speed allows you to climb at the fastest rate, gaining altitude efficiently. Adjust your pitch to settle into the new airspeed, ensuring you maintain control and a smooth climb. Skill 12. Configure the airplane in accordance with the manufacturer's guidance after a positive rate of climb has been verified. So once you confirm a positive rate of climb, follow the guidelines for configuration changes such as retracting flaps and gear. These changes will streamline your climb performance and optimize the aircraft's aerodynamics. Skill 13. Maintain VY plus 10 or minus 5 knots to a safe maneuvering altitude. So we'll continue holding VY until you reach a safe altitude where you can maneuver comfortably. Skill 14. Maintain directional control and proper wind drift correction throughout the takeoff and climb. Skill 15. Comply with noise abatement procedures if applicable. We know that many airports have specific procedures to minimize noise in the surrounding areas. So make sure you're familiar with these guidelines and comply as necessary during your climb out. This not only shows professionalism, but also maintains good relations with the airport's neighbors.
So in this part of the video, I'm going to demonstrate how to perform a short field takeoff. Again, with checklists, we'll set up the airplane. Flaps 25 degrees, that's 2 notches again. Brakes set, that's when we roll up onto the runway, we're going to set our brakes. Check our time, heading indicator will verify we're on the right runway. Throttle will be full throttle, and then we'll verify our engine, gauges, takeoff power is all good. And then we'll release our brakes to rotate at VR, which is at 52 knots, climb at VX 63, clear about 300 feet indicated. That's 200 feet above ground level here. And then pitch for VY 79 and carry that speed all the way to our cruising altitude or the intended altitude. And then once we see a positive rate of climb, we'll retract our flaps. Okay, final is clear, runway is clear, door is latched. I'm making a call. Fathom traffic, Warrior 32 November Alpha, departing runway 14, remain in the pattern, Northampton. Alright, I'm going to try to use every inch of the runway. I'm going to taxi to the very edge of the runway without taking out any of these lights. Alright, still clear. Alright, lined up. Alright, so feet on the brakes. We got our flaps set, full power. Takeoff power is set, gauges are in the green. I'm going to release the brakes, use your rudders to remain on the center line. Airspeed is alive. 40. 52, rotate. And then pitch for 63. Maintain 63 until we are 300 indicated. Alright, and then pitch for 79. Pitch forward slightly. Remain on the extended center line. Runway heading. Alright, still have a positive rate of climb. I'm going to slowly retract my flaps. One at a time. 1 and 2. And then pitch for your best rate of climb. That is a short field takeoff.
Let's move on to short field landings. A short field landing is a precision landing technique used when operating on runways with limited length, often found at smaller airstrips or airports with obstacles at the approach end. The goal is to touch down at a specific point on the runway and then bring the aircraft to a stop in the shortest distance possible. This maneuver requires careful control of speed, configuration, and descent to ensure you can land safely within the available runway space. Let's start with some key points to consider for performing a short field landing.
For simulated short landings, choose a suitable touchdown point when on the downwind when you have a clear view of the runway environment. Take into consideration the wind conditions, runway conditions, as well as obstructions. A stable approach is very, very important. Many people would even choose to extend their downwind slightly to get a longer final leg to allow for more time to set the aircraft up. Maintain the recommended approach speed or no more than 1.3 times the stall speed (VSO), with adjustments for gusts and wind conditions. This ensures that you have enough lift and control without excessive speed that could lengthen your landing roll. You can think back to your speed control techniques during slow flight to set up and maintain the approach speed. Use small throttle adjustments to manage your descent rate. Keeping your power setting stable will help maintain a steady approach path. Avoid sudden throttle changes because they can destabilize your approach and affect your glide path. A firm touchdown can sometimes be preferable to ensure that the aircraft settles quickly and doesn't float. Immediately after touchdown, apply brakes firmly and consistently to stop within the shortest possible distance. Use maximum braking efficiency without skidding. Also, use aerodynamic braking by pulling back on the yoke to increase drag without applying too much force on the nose wheel. Follow manufacturer's guidelines for flaps retraction and braking techniques during rollout to ensure safe and effective deceleration. Remember to retract flaps if specified to increase brakes effectiveness by transferring more weight onto the main wheels. Maintain directional control during the rollout with appropriate rudder inputs to make sure the aircraft is centered on the runway. Now let's take a look at the skills specified in the ACS. Again, skills 1 through 8 are identical to those of a soft fuel landing. Refer back to that video for more information. Skill 9. Make smooth, timely, and correct control application before, during, and after touchdown. So control inputs should be smooth and deliberate from approach to touchdown. This reduces stress on the aircraft and contributes to a safer, more professional landing experience. Timeless is crucial. Anticipate the aircraft's needs and adjust accordingly. Skill 10. Touch down at a proper pitch attitude within 200 feet beyond or on the specified point, threshold markings, or runway numbers with no side drift, minimal flow, and with the airplane's longitudinal axis aligned with and over the runway center line. So aim to land within 200 feet of your designated point with minimal float and line perfectly with the runway. Precision in touchdown minimizes runway use and maximizes stopping power. So keep the aircraft's nose at the right attitude to ensure proper landing gear engagement. Skill 11. Use manufacturer's recommended procedures for airplane configuration and braking. Skill 12. Execute a timely go-around if the approach cannot be made within the tolerances specified above, or for any other conditions that may result in an unsafe approach and landing. So if anything looks off, be ready to abort. It's better to circle back for another try than to force a landing that might not be safe. Knowing when to go around is a critical skill that allows for maturity and good judgment in piloting. Skill 13. Use runway incursion avoidance procedures if applicable. So stay vigilant for potential runway incursions. Use the appropriate procedures to ensure that your landing area remains clear, including scanning for aircraft or ground vehicles that might be in your path.
Alright, in this part of the video, I'm going to show you how to perform a short field landing. The runway is pretty clear. I don't see any obstructions or obstacles. It is safe to land on. And for a soft fuel landing, we want to make sure that we pick our aiming point, and we also want to specify a touchdown point, which in this case, I'm going to pick the beginning of the second centerline stripe. So we have about a 200 feet touchdown zone. Each centerline stripe is 120 feet, and then each gap is 80 feet. So our landing zone will be the beginning of the second center line stripe in the beginning of the third. That'll give us 200 feet. We can't land short, but as long as we are in that zone, we will be okay. So we are already past our beam points. First notch of flaps, 10 degrees. All right, perpendicular, second notch of flaps. Adam traffic, 32 November Alpha, left base runway 14, full stop Northampton. All right, airspeed slightly slow. I'm gonna push the plane forward and then add some power to compensate for that altitude loss. All right, now our airspeed is back, we're good. All right, base to final turn. We'll add our third notch of flaps in first. Traffic, 32 November Alpha, short final, runway 14, full stop Northampton. All right, I'm going to try to slow the airplane down as early as I can to about 62 to 63 knots, and then use some power to carry that airspeed in, and then maintain my glide path. Once I'm above my aiming point, in our case the numbers, I'm going to cut power to an idle, and then let the plane kind of touch down on within our landing zone. All right, I'm going to reduce power to an idle, and then maintain center line, touchdown. And then we got a little bit of right crosswind. We're going to put that crosswind correction in, use some aerodynamic braking, simulated full brakes to stop the plane in the shortest distance possible. All right, now we're ready to clear the runway. That is our short field landing.
Mastering short field takeoffs and landings require a combination of precision, skill, and a deep understanding of your aircraft's performance capabilities. With practice, you will become adept at handling even the shortest runways with confidence and precision. Remember, safety and precision are key. Practice regularly, refine your techniques, and you will be ready for any short runway challenges that come your way. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions or need further clarification, feel free to reach out. This is Simon. Until next time, keep practicing and happy flying.